Okay, so I guess we're going to do this. I just press start broadcasting, and I'm going with it. I was still working it out in my head how I was going to approach this. But the purpose of this stream is, but wait, there's more. Well, that's the title, but that's the purpose. The story involving Tricia and everything that's happened. Uh, it just when you hear enough details, you're like, wow, that's dark. But wait, there's more. There's literally at every turn there's more. And that's just trying to tell from my side. And then this past week I learned, but wait, there's more, even for me. So evil people just don't stop being evil just because they got their way for the time being. And it's just um, crazy what I've learned. And so Tricia Elliott, thank God, Tricia Elliott needs to be brought to justice. She needs to be prevented from destroying any other lives. She doesn't deserve to get to go on with her chaotic life freely the way she's been doing. The life she chooses or accepts for herself is already piss poor, terrible, and yet that's just apparently how lazy she is, um, or something. I don't know why she chooses that chaos. She really has plenty of opportunity to not live in that chaos and just refuses. So, anyways, let me see. Hold on. Okay, why is this? Hold on. Let's see if this stream is even broadcasting properly. Okay, I've got to work on thumbnails. I don't know why it puts that a thumbnail from a previous stream as my thumbnail for this. But okay, hang on. Now I got to mute myself. I was trying to make sure the stream was even visible. And I'm way off track already. I need to kind of get to the point. But I'm going to start telling the story. I'm going to be naming names where names are there to be named. I'll be revealing details, and and hopefully figure out how to do it the best way quickly. Now I'm including a link for if anybody wants to go to buymeacoffee.com and offer some support. It it is much appreciated. It's actually kind of needed right now, but that's another story. That's not the motivation for this. However, if the people care to help out, that will help me make increase even put in more effort to this as I go. But uh, there's still some things I'm not sure about revealing. I gotta, like to. I've got the one catch-22 is I don't want to cause anyone to be afraid to come forward. So, um, and so I've got some information uh, that I just don't know. I didn't really clarify how much I could bring forward, but I do believe the person wants me to bring it forward. I think when we talk about it again, they'll recognize that if there's going to be anything accomplished from the information from making contact, it starts with bringing it forward. And so there's another thing that's happened here. Common thread is Tricia and her co-conspirators um, take advantage of people when they know that they are isolated and won't have support, when they can just simply outnumber them. And the other thing is, Tricia and her co-conspirators have firmly established that the courts uh, in at least several states, if not all of them, are trash. The family courts, that the judges, lawyers, all of them, they're just selfish people that don't really give a shit about kids or anything like that. So, is this really saying that there's stream problems? There should be no reason for this stream problem. Let me see. Come on. Oh. Okay. Well, no. I don't know. Let me see. Let's see if this stream is even broadcast. Okay, no, this is quality. Okay, sorry, I had to check on that. But anyway, so basically the idea, the only people that are finding this right now are going to be people that have seen stuff from Tricia Elliott regarding the Hallelujah Scriptures, and then her own video trying to jump on a bandwagon and stuff against the Parable of the Vineyard and Adam Fink and all them. Which, you know, I have other content, check it out, where I'm kind of countering and discussing some of that content. Trying to figure out how to do this most effectively, though, is going to be a challenge. Getting there, trying to, and I don't know. I did mostly, at least initially, just count on people being familiar with the situation to some extent or another. So I'm going to have to put that down. I saw myself on the stream. My hands are going crazy. Anyways, some familiarity with the situation kind of has to be counted on to start with. But, okay, and then another thing is, so, holy crap, sorry, I see the preview of that stream. I was just going nuts with my hands. Another part of this is there's a cult involved. I'm saying it's a cult. For other people, it's their faith. It's the most sincere version of their faith. It's usually, it might be where traditional Christian faith led them, as far as the Hebrew roots movement goes, or what have you. It's not my job to try to put a positive spin on my experience or what I've witnessed. For any religion or anything of that nature. So it's not my concern about, as far as just from a religious standpoint or anything like that, I don't have any axe to grind against, like the Hebrew roots just as a religion. To each their own is my belief on that, for sure. And I mean, I've got a video, I may show it at some point, but it was, I was talking about how I came to Torah. That's the way we used to refer to where we got into the Hebrew roots movement. We didn't get into when we got into it, it wasn't through the Hebrew roots movement. That's just kind of we kind of discovered what we got into as we went. But, saying we right there too is also not, I don't know what Tricia's motives were at the beginning, or if things changed, or if they ever did. It's really hard to say. That gets complicated, but it doesn't really matter either. The main thing is what she's about and trying to bring that to a stop. So, again, with some of the new information I have and not knowing really, I don't want to share it too much until I know that where the person that's sharing it stands on sharing it, at least for right now. Because I don't have to name names, but the people that they may not want to know, that the people who they may be concerned about would know who this person is just by sharing what I learned. But let me just say, it's crazy, and there's more moving parts involved to what happened with me. Anyways, however, well, I believe this person's story is what they've suffered is far worse than what I've suffered. Mine may have been more prolonged, and then of course there's more than one chapter to it, but I digress. Okay, so, dang, where to start? Like, the other thing is I don't even know what anyone that's more recently been dealing with Tricia, what they've heard about me, what they think was alleged. I see bits and pieces of it. I mean, I know that somehow, because the accusations that get back to me don't even come near justifying uh, this, but supposedly, even she alludes to it in the video, that supposedly my daughter is so traumatized from what she went through with me or whatever that she gets weirded out just by being around men and stuff like that. Supposedly has PTSD and just it's crazy. And of course, my take on that has always been, like if you're in such a better place, why aren't you improving? And that's not because I really believe she's in a better place, but it's like you don't even know how to fake this going forward. Telling the lies were just a start, but you're trying to live those same lies, and that's the reason why my daughter was assessed to be age regressed. I mean, this was all there is to. Well, one reason, but the other thing is that what was triggered, what she was recounting, was the actual abuse she had been through, which had been suppressed, and she tried to claim at one point that she didn't even remember anymore. But there she is recalling things, and that's what had Tricia alarmed and has Tricia falsely accusing Aaron of raping her, to try to add motives, I guess, to them telling, so that if they start to tell what they learned for that situation from Allison during that they'd be discredited. And the rape allegation is extreme, but that's the way Tricia rolls. When she's around people that she just has to say something to that are not going to actually try to vet what she says or be even worried, then she goes for the jugular. And she does that in court too. She established that courts don't give a shit about truth in court. If you're willing to say something under sworn testimony, unless what it takes to prove perjury in court is such a high standard and burden. Excuse me. That she has no fear of that, and so it's interesting. I didn't know that it would serve a purpose, but I still, since she was willing to perjure herself on stand while I was cross-examining her for the final custody hearing, I went ahead and let her put herself blatantly on record with very blatant perjury. So one day something might happen, and that may come back to finally get her. But in the meantime, so this is going to have to be something. I'm hoping consistency in time so that this will just get better. And so I'm just doing this as a live stream right now. And I don't know where to start. It's all overwhelming. I have PTSD myself from this stuff. And so this is certainly not a pleasant exercise. As far as just straight up wanting justice or vengeance for myself for past stuff, I'm a firm believer in the reason we should forgive people is for our own benefit. I would rather go on with my life and start a new and better chapter with less toxic people. But there's a few things in there that were not part of that option. One of those is I came to peace about the situation on behalf of my children while they were likely set up to have the horrible experience that they've had, but not while that was their reality, for one. So knowing about their reality and where they're at and stuff that's no longer at a settled place. Not like there's just suddenly a flood of things I can do, but I don't know. But I still need to be prepared to be able to do something, I guess, or to communicate or be ready to make sure that if anything happens to them, that the bitch rots in prison or gets put down for it, because I do fear for my kids whether they're going to actually survive to become adults. And why? Because Tricia is running out of usefulness for them. Allison's already turned into an adult and proved that even the best of manipulation still leaves Allison as a liability for Tricia. And Allison no longer brings in a check, either tax return or child support, because Allison is an adult. But Allison isn't an adult that's capable of being self-sufficient and on her own, and Tricia's made no effort in that regard. So Allison is just a liability. It's very scary, and Tricia doesn't leave herself in places where man, tell you what.
Mic off. Mic feedback off. Battery low. Charging battery.
Wireless headset that turns itself off while you're talking. That sucks. I gotta dig into the ICQ. Maybe there's some settings, but still, I'll just plug it in for now. And where was I? I was just basically detailing why I'm concerned for Allison right now. And then there's another factor. Tricia making those videos and all the videos there and the different things she's admitted to and stuff like that, I think it gives me a layer of added protection in case she attempts anything further regarding my son Matthew. So he's of no relation to her. She still tried to get a hold of him as part of her stuff she pulled when she managed to get custody of the kids. And that's just how evil she is. She just saw him as another potential tick or two, and that's another way to cause added injury. She's totally for it. And now I know that Matthew's not the first kid she tried to steal outright. That's not hers. So she abandoned her own kids, and she encouraged somebody else to abandon some other kids. But yet she still will steal kids if she can, by whatever means necessary. For her own benefit too. So kids are just pawns to her. They're just avenues for stuff. If anybody sent her money or offered her support out of concern for kids, that's the worst thing you can do. Whatever it takes, there's nothing too extreme as far as the kids having shelter, food, clothing, whatever. There's no struggle in that regard that's too extreme to not be worth getting them out of her care, period. So when you sent her money, you bailed her out. You didn't help the kids. You you took them further away from help. So if anybody is learning about this stuff and feels bad about offering support or anything like that, if you feel like you did wrong, I'm not here to guilt you about that or anything like that, but if you really do feel bad and you recognize that was a mistake and you're at all persuaded by religious arguments, just realize that it's a very biblical thing to restore, to make restitution, stuff like that. And if you are feeling that way, then just pay attention to what I'm doing here, and if you realize that I'm actually countering that mistake by my efforts, then please consider the Buy Me a Coffee link for donations. I can use the help this period. It's hard to be a single father of a child of a single child without daycare in the area. Like, even he's now almost 11. So that adds some independence options, but we're still talking about a lot of real safety concerns. We're talking about a house in the country, so I guess still not a shoe-in. And then he still needs somebody in his life available for him as well. So I'm not out of the woods of the struggle I have as a single parent, just trying to find a job and work and stuff like that. So, and then to put an effort on this too, that would be if in the meantime this isn't just straight up taken away from us, but actually holding its own, that would help. All right. I don't know how well I could read this, like, to actually keep it interesting. I don't think I'm in the best of mindsets and moods or whatever to make the best content here. The way I figure is I can just keep making content, and eventually, if I do that, it'll start to formulate into a more refined package, something more effective. That's the hope. And in the meantime, details can catch some people where they're at when they're ready for them. So I've also got to relocate a lot of information that I had. I had no intention of trying to fight for justice just for myself. Uh, it was, that's just, there wasn't any point. Like, that was just furthering insult and injury. But it's really learning from this other person some other stuff that went on that's got to be done. All right, so again, I don't know what people have heard about me or all the situations, or even how many people even cared to ask for kind of details. Like, man, there was all kinds of, marriage was a big topic in the Hebrew Roots movement during my stint initially, and it was there were definitely concerns about people's various agendas and stuff like that. But divorce was still at that time a pretty clear no-go, and even remarriage was questioned. I'll try this. There was people that took the claim that if you had divorced, you needed to be restored. You could not remarry. You needed to be restored to the person you had the divorce from. And it was just, the circle, at least that we were in, was pretty strict about all that. And then for Tricia to just run around freely as a divorced woman with these children and not face any scrutiny of note for that is interesting, at least. And it's also, I don't know, it's, there's more to that story, and that's a very important part of the story. It's just kind of ironic, is maybe not the best word, but it's fitting. How we're talking about a religious cult where everyone's proclaiming that they care about the truth to the extreme, really, and yet suddenly, and there's at least used to be all these really strict and ideas of marriage and divorce and remarriage and all that, and suddenly all that's out the window just because I guess it evolved to have other issues. I'm not sure, but that concern, the due diligence, even just about what scriptures would require, what God wanted, what Jesus was saying, all that stuff, could have gone a long way to slowing down this stuff. But so if anyone hasn't heard, or you have heard, or whether you've heard or you haven't heard, here's just one thing. I've got other things written, but about kind of the lead up to being at the place where we ended up, where Tricia blindsided me with the divorce. So this should reveal a little bit about, I would hope, and there's still more to come, that should help reveal more about me and who I was and where I was in these things as they progressed, So whatever you've heard, what anyone may have heard about me, and how I guess I'm supposed to be some kind of abusive monster, I guess sometimes sexual abuse is alleged, and whatever you've heard, hopefully this captures, and this is from back then, this is not something I tried to recall now, will help capture some of where my mindset was on this. So let's see. All right, so when we were going to leave Megan and Derek's, it was apparent our welcome was worn, but we did not know why. I have later learned that it was indeed Tricia's behavior that caused our welcome to be worn. I was not told so at the time because I was in full support of my wife, and I was in agreement with her take on events. So Megan and Derek were our best friends. We were neighbors with them for many years in Glenpool where we lived. And then they'd bought the house that I now have. This house I'm in right now, they'd bought. That's when we'd been neighbors up until they bought it. We'd gone up to North Dakota, and then to come back to Oklahoma when we did, we came here and we stayed in an outbuilding. So when I'm saying I was not told so at the time, Derek had tried to tell me something that's a few days before, or not too long before we moved out, and then he was like, never mind. And so I guess it was about a month later from when we moved. Yeah, it's been about a month, I guess. When I was blindsided by the separation and just not, it's like basically asked him again, what were you going to tell me? He was just going to tell me that she was extremely manipulative, but he said there was no way I was going to listen. And he's right. I mean, I was married to her for, well, a month shy of 10 years. And yeah, the blinders were firmly in place, but it wasn't for bad. Like, I didn't live in denial regarding Tricia. Like, I was truly blind to it, and it's honestly, I mean, it was just, it was. She just had the benefit of the doubt without even having to consciously be given the benefit of the doubt, I guess. And then I also, another thing, I was just kind of aware, I'd seen how her parents operated, stuff like that. So she'd grown up with bad influences too. So I guess I had a reason to think, I had reasons to not have some things. Some of her character didn't flag that otherwise might have, because I was under the impression, it just goes deep. And then for my own family and the abuse and stuff I'd suffered and things, I'd already been trained my whole life to make excuses for people, to find ways to cope and move forward, I guess. And so it wasn't ever conscious, but I didn't see it with Tricia, and I think my friend was right that I wouldn't have seen it or listened or really heard him had he went ahead and followed through with the warning he started to give. All right, so the move to Summer and Zach's was Tricia's idea and planning. When Tricia was telling of the problems at Megan's and Derek's online, she was communicating extensively with Summer via Facebook messages. They had an online friend pass away. That would be Todd Philbon, who's going to come up again. And we became closer to them when we offered prayers for him while he was in critical condition. When he passed, I made videos for YouTube that made his music available for sharing on Facebook. Summer and Zach were supposed to go to North Carolina to help some other friends release more of his music. We're going to talk more about what happened when they actually finally did make it to North Carolina. They said YHWH was calling them to do it. They had offered for us to stay.
Charge complete.
Okay, they had offered for us to stay with them when we offered prayers for him. Well, oh wait, sorry. When he passed, get back to where it was. Geez. Okay, they'd offered for us to stay with them when Tricia had first told them of her version of events at Megan and Derek's. Tricia formulated the idea that we could go down and pay all their bills while our tax return lasted, so that they could save up money for the move. I wasn't sold on the idea, and I don't even remember that. I don't remember that being a plan before we went down there to pay all their bills. I guess, but I guess it must have just been the plan to pay the bills. Okay, so that's because it's a big deal. Like, we went down there and it turned out they were way behind on bills and stuff like that. And then Tricia even secretly paid out of our money some really large, extravagant bills that I didn't find out about till I was kicked to the curb. But so I think right there, pay their bills. It just meant like we would basically go down and be paying for the place going forward, when we arrived going forward, and then they would be finishing up they'd be using their resources to finish up getting themselves moving on to it. So the idea was never that we were going to be staying long term with Summer and Zach at their place. They were going to be moving on, and we were going to take over the place. Okay. Now, okay, so I wasn't sold on the idea, and even at the last minute, I was still asking Tricia to check for compatible properties for us nearby. She told me she did, and that there was nothing. I trusted her completely at the time, but now I do not know if she actually did it. I mean, and even now, further now, I'm sure she didn't. So she managed to manipulate me into agreeing to this move, but I wasn't. But she was still supposed to be looking for much more viable options for us nearby, and odds are she did not continue to do that. Okay, so another deciding factor for me was Tricia had told me that Allison was really upset about the thought, and Allison's our oldest daughter together, the one, people finding this probably are aware of who she is, but anyways, was really upset about the thought of having to get rid of our goat, Curie. I decided previously, and I thought Tricia agreed that we would get rid of Curie, so I think it was, Curie, like, anyway, that was the name of the goat. We kept the name that she had when we got her, but so that we could have a home in town if we couldn't find anything else. It was after this that Tricia told me of Allison's words. I trusted her at the time. Now I am suspicious, especially with the events that have transpired. It was my opinion that Tricia knew how I would react to Allison making such comments. My children had parted with so many things and had given up so much in our moves, etc. My words to her were along the lines of saying that they've given up so much that if Allison wants to draw the line at Curie, that we're going to keep Curie. Now, the nearly final decision on the move to Summer and Zach's house was Tricia told me one day after work that she had been praying about what we should do, and the answer was, I have set before you an open door. Immediately I knew what she was talking about because, according to her, there were no properties available that met our needs. Our only option of moving out and keeping the goat was Summer and Zach's place. They were supposed to be moving on, and then we would have found a home that met all of our needs, with the added benefit of keeping it available for them if they returned from North Carolina. So I really wanted us to have our own place, and that is what Megan and Derek had in mind for us too. Obviously, I really regret the move now. It was risky, but I thought all we were risking was getting there and finding out they weren't who they seemed, causing us to have to spend more to return and be worse off. There were no marital problems that I was aware of. In fact, if anything, I thought the stress of the previous couple of months had brought Tricia and I closer together. I never could have imagined us being separated by leaving my children at times alone in a house of strangers, and me being completely unable to see them and protect them. So, there we go. So, she got me to agree to move in with some people that we'd met online and knew, like, if I was supposed to be this monster that I just don't see where I'm supposedly a monster, that I'm perfectly fine with accountability or to be in front of others. I don't see how that was supposed to add up, but that they can count on people not seeing if things add up. All right. Well, I really shouldn't be tired yet. I'm kind of surprised that was slipping in. Trying to see where I'm at. And I hate it because I don't know if I can make this sound as interesting as it really should be and needs to be. So anyways, I mentioned Todd Philbaum and how his car accident and eventual death was a factor in how this got started. And here are some pages printed out of some of my messaging with his mom, Melissa. Now this is trimmed down. This is trying to be made potentially admissible in court. So non-related messages are left out. But this is some of the first more detailed information I learned about what Tricia was up to since she had abandoned the kids, really. All right, so the first date here is August 18th of 2013. And I've got some captions here for court. Melissa Philbon messaged me about Tricia, Summer, and Zach. and how they treated RT and Jane in North Carolina. Well, I don't know who RT and Jane are, other than they were some friends of Summer and Zach's, and that was who they were supposed to go move in with, apparently, when we made the move. So, okay, so Melissa Philbaum on Friday, August 16th. Those conversations started at 10:41 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, I can give you details because I feel it would be. I can't give you details because I feel it would betray their confidence and privacy. But I want you to know that Summer and the bunch showed their true fruit to Jane and Rodney. They blew into their home unannounced and ripped them into pieces, leaving a disaster field of debris that really rocked them hard. I won't compare it to what they did to you and your children, but it was just as ugly and left them pretty shook. Out of the blue, Summer texted me to tell me that she was in labor, blah, blah, blah. She acted like nothing had happened in North Carolina. I ignored the text. I'm wondering how she plans to include me in her next scheme. She better never come here. There you go. That was, again, August 16th of 2013. This is a little over a year after I was kicked to the curb myself. So, and this is well after she had abandoned the kids. So, okay, and I'm going to skip some time stamps unless they're really relevant, I think. But anyways, Melissa continues, or in another message 6 minutes later, actually. She invoked my son's name to try to gain favor in my eyes. It makes me ill. I'm so glad he never met up with them. They only use people who are seeking to touch and make a difference in people who are in need's lives. They prey on others' goodness, then they tear them apart and down using scripture. So heavenly minded, they are no earthly good. They give nothing but criticism, but have no problem taking from. Summer is constantly working on her next scheme, because everywhere she leads them all, they end up devastating the lives of people who tried to bless them. I'm still praying for the dark cloud that hangs over the Turner home after their stay. They feel like they had been left behind a demon, and in a real sense, I believe they did. They certainly did the works of one, perhaps the whole legion. Yeah, I don't call Tricia a demon bitch just to call her names. I mean, that's literally what she is. And it's evident by her fruit, or lack thereof, that's left in her wake. She said they actually fear retribution from Summer in sharing what they went through with me. So I myself am wondering what she wanted. She has no need for me, and now she contacts me while in a hard labor. Labor doesn't even. Oh, this is the same day. Huh. Labor doesn't even interrupt her scheming and plotting her next move. But one thing I know, or I am certain about, she is up to something, and I'm in her sights. All right. So yeah. Okay, and then all right. So then here's a comment from me to her. And it says, and I've got it noted, the message was trimmed to more relevant questions. So this isn't just, anyways. So do you know whether Tricia is still with him? I know Tricia was liking midwives and home birthing pages. This would explain it. I go through periods where I get locked into trying to figure it out, but I can't even pinpoint why. I want to know what purpose it will serve. I think I just want to confirm she is out of state with no immediate way back. Anyways, I hope for my kids' sake that she will one day get it together and be a constructive part of their lives. I strongly suspect their next stop, or at least Tricia's next stop, is Michael and Sherry Mountain Peeps place in Idaho, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they're burning. I'm not surprised they're burning more people though. Good grief! Work on lighting or something here. Like I just shouldn't be this tired. I don't know why I'm getting sleepy, but this is me continuing. It's clear that Summer and Zach and Tricia are in what appears to be a circle of some really extremist stuff that goes beyond Hebrew roots. It is actually New Age, but in the end, I don't believe it is about sincerity at all, but control. That's why the burdens are cast. I believe it's a complete lack of faith that allows them to make such a strong show in the flesh. Just the religion. Let's see. They see religion as their tool. So only the image matters. They publicly agree on weightier matters and completely disregard it in person. And then Melissa responded, yes, I've seen about the mountaintop peeps, but I wasn't 100% positive it was the same people, even though all evidence was pointing to it. I had got that text from Summer, and they announced a baby on the way, and how they were a family in trouble trying to get to the mountain. But that has been my fear, that they would just show up here expecting generous hospitality, because that is what believers do. And Summer prays on other believers in her own game, to her own game. Oof. Okay. So, okay. I guess I'll have to take a break from here, but I'm going to go one more paragraph. Okay, and then I added a subtitle here. Tricia says she left. Sorry about the moving around, guys. I forget that was looking so crazy on cam. Okay, so Tricia says she left the kids because they are pagan. Jane questioned Tricia about how she could leave her children because of some woman telling her they are pagan. Can't know if it will have done any good till the rest of her story plays out. I see Summer as the ringleader. For whatever reason, Tricia puts more stock in what Summer says, Scripture says, than what the Holy Spirit tells her, assuming she ever had it to begin with. And okay, and at first I felt I should warn the mountaintop peeps about them, but one can't do that without running them down, and all I have is a secondhand witness info. I also think perhaps there might be a slim chance for Tricia to wake up. Sari may sit her down with yet another strong opinion about the justification. Holy crap. Okay, strong opinion about the justification she used to leave her children. Sherry is zealous for the Torah, but I don't see her condoning that. Sherry may see through Summer quickly and see the dynamics going on there and be able to disrupt it or intervene with her own strong personality. Rodney expressed true grief over accepting a one-sided story concerning you. That's concerning me. So these people I never met that she's let me know that were burned by them. Anyways, said that he expressed true grief over accepting a one-sided story concerning you. Should Tricia find herself returning to your state, I have no doubt that you will handle it right by your children with God's guidance. You are okay and will continue to be because of your faith in Him. So, all right, so guys, I gotta take a break. Sorry about that, but anyways, that's actually a better place to start than I realized. But this pattern is persistent, and so I said I'm going to start naming names. Summer and Zach, or Summer and Zach Araya James. Summer was hyphenating her last name, so Summer Nicole Collins James. and they're essential to a lot of stuff that happened. And Tricia's motivation for abusing my kids um, may largely be due to trying to make Summer happy. Uh, anyways, they're I don't have anything nice to say about them, other than I'm glad to hear that apparently Summer left Zach. So that was, anyways, that's a good development. That coward played along with so much evil and was there. Uh, I don't think he was the original schemer of any of these plans, but he enabled it to happen. He knew what was going on, and he didn't stand for what was right. So, and he's witnessed uh, two families completely destroyed, including the relationships of parents and children. So, he's now going to get screwed over by her more than likely, and that's just a good thing. So. Anyways, wow, good grief. Okay, so I'm definitely going to take a break here. I hope to wake up a little bit. Oh, shoot. No, I had no idea it was freaking 3 in the morning. Never mind, maybe I need to be trying to shut down after all. But I just was not. Okay, so time did get away from me some right now. But getting into the story should help. And then I'm just going to. I don't embellish things. I don't fake things, and even when I'm telling something truthful, to target it at a particular audience or whatever, it's a fine line for me between. I usually don't. I err on the side of no chance of manipulation at all. I guess I don't know how to word that, but. So, well, where I'm going with that, though, is that, it won't be helpful to alienate, people that are into Hebrew roots, things like that. I see that people get pissed off. They can jump to conclusions about way too much about a person just based on where they stand on religious things or what have you. But in any case, for many levels, it would be better to respect that than to cross it. But there's people on different spectrums here that can get offended. And the bottom line, where I'm going, I don't know if that's tied up nicely, but I'm going to just tell the truth, the whole truth, and whether it hurts or not, it needs to be told. It's from my perspective, or it's from the perspective of the evidence that I have that I'll be sharing. It's not my job to make anyone feel good and comfortable about the state of their their beliefs, especially their organized religion that they're part of. So I just have to see how it plays out, but I could be rubbing some people the wrong way as this goes along. And I would just hope that if you're sincere, that you'd stop and consider it from my shoes and what I've witnessed, and you'll know more of what I've witnessed as we go along, and just bear with it. And if you believe your organized religion, if it's getting a negative light from this, just pay more attention, because if you value it, that's where people got to step up and actually address or acknowledge or something the real concerns, and just recognize that the evidence is what the evidence is, and just because you don't like the conclusion doesn't mean that the person that's bringing the assessment is your enemy. I guess that if you get offended and you don't watch anything else because I dared say something negative about Hebrew roots or something, then good God, man, I'm like completely just it's kind of disappointing. I wasn't prepared to be in this state, so I do hope to move around a little bit. I want to snap out of it some, but I just don't. I don't know why it's fizzling out. I mean, it's not. It happens sometimes, but I don't normally go from fine to. It's weird. This is okay. So I better wrap this up before it becomes a complete basket case. But where we got in part one, we just started like. I'm honestly being surprised at how quickly that got into stuff that's relevant. So I can tell you. So we're talking about. It had already been a plan for Summer and Zach to move in with this couple, RT and Jane, in North Carolina. They didn't go in the time frame that was indicated. I guess there was a big change of plans when suddenly they decided to become essentially kidnappers. Bottom line, there was never a legitimate or lawful reason for me to be separated from my kids during that time. But so essentially, when the truth is known, they weren't kidnappers, but they're fine with that. It worked. It was something that was going to benefit them. They were down with it. But anyways, so when they did eventually go up there, it was after Tricia had abandoned the kids, so she was with them. And so then that's where they were at Summer, or RT and James, and then they terrorized them. And then from there is where Michael and Sarah Mountain Peeps come in, and so you'll learn more from them, but they all connect, they intertwine. The witnesses of these two different people and their stories intertwine. The fact that there's Facebook posts being referenced, where some of the posts would be referenced by both people, and these are at different times too. So eventually Melissa was done with me because I was calling out just how much the Hebrew Roots movement was a factor in what Tricia was able to accomplish, I guess. Anyway, so my messages with Melissa went from August, middle of August of 2013 through, just a second, all the way through August 7th. Okay, hang on. I have more than one copy in here that got kind of mixed up. And I think they got mixed up again. I know I saw dates going into November at some point. Okay, this going to September, November. All right, so yeah, so from August through November 2nd, at least with these. Then I've got emails from my attorney that would be more interesting to overall. And it shows they're important too, because like I did not kidnap my children. They were not hidden, and the opposite is true. I was doing all I knew to do to try to figure out what the heck she was up to, and that's just, she's obviously, it's disturbing to have somebody cut and run, the mother of your children cut and run from accountability to learn about abuse, and just, anyway, it's helpful that I know what she was up to, and it's just hit a new level of helpfulness. Hold on. Okay, so the other thing is these pages with really tiny print are printouts from my conversations with Sari. And these, so there was some communication with her back in the day, which I obviously had emailed my lawyer about. But these are from, started January, oh, I sent her, oh wow. Whoa, I did not remember that kind of a time frame go by. I had sent her a message January 31st of 2018. She got back with me April 18th of 2018. So and then there's also in these messages, there's just kind of some updates on how I was doing. I mean, I appreciated that she was willing to help and spend some time with me getting this clarified. But anyways, so when I was talking to Melissa, her Facebook page was private, but she ends up sharing a lot of the posts that are relevant to details she's telling me about at any given time. And so that's where some clear overlap occurs. And another thing largely established here, it is established for anybody just being reasonable about it, is that Tricia was going by the name Abigail Yasharel while she was on the run during her abandonment, but she adamantly denied that. And I've got her on record at court under oath denying that, and it's proven. And more evidence to that fact has come forward. All right, so it'll get interesting. More stuff is coming, and then I want to, I'll try to clarify more with this one particular person and get a better idea of if there's any issues with me sharing what I've learned there, and hopefully not. That's kind of critical, but if you've followed along with this, you're amazing, and I guess you must be somebody that knows something about Tricia or something, like to have had that much interest. I've gotten tired and everything. This is not very entertaining, I'm sure. And anyways, this is difficult for me to talk about too, finding a starting point and all of that. So we'll get there. That's why I just want to start doing something and then have it kind of pull itself together. And over time, worst case, I just figure out how to better organize the relevant information, and then just have something more concise that paints the pictures. But all right. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm out for this one, and we'll try it again later. Goodbye.